We wanted to tell you a quick little Thanksgiving story and then how it's blossomed into something that we really cherish in our family. Many years ago, we were mission presidents in London, and we had a little baby born while we were there in April of a particular year, and he came along 9 weeks early. And in London, in England, in those days, that was about the limit of when you could have a baby and still have that baby survive.
That was 43 years ago. And actually, it was an emergency C-section, a placenta previa, massive hemorrhage. It was very scary. We were close to only a little cottage hospital in our neighborhood.
I'll tell you a quick story of prayer that chokes me up whenever I think of it. Medicine is socialized basically in England, and this little district hospital had a couple of interns, but I had become friends with a wonderful, dear man, a member of Parliament, actually an education minister named Rhodes Boyson, and I called Rhodes when I saw what trouble Linda was in, and he gave me the name of the best private obstetrician doctor in all of London. And he actually called him for me. And this doctor in his white Jaguar raced from London down to Epsom, where we were in this little hospital, and came in and thought he got the bleeding under control and said, "You need to keep that baby in as long as you can, Linda, but call me if you need anything." And then he got in his car and went away. And no sooner had he driven up the motorway than the real hemorrhaging started.
Right. It was very scary. The nurse, I said, "I think I'm in trouble," and went like this, and the nurse went, "Oh my gosh." And so then everything was set in motion. But we had no cell phones.
Yeah, and I was out on the side of the hospital in a little grove of trees praying my guts out. And I got up from my knees to go back in to see what was happening. And I heard the screech of tires, and in came this white Jaguar. And we had no way to get in touch with this doctor, but he got out of his car, and I yelled, "She's hemorrhaging again." I'll never lose the vision of him running up those steps, taking off his coat and tie as he ran. And to make a long story short, he performed, the nurse told me, the fastest cesarean section she had ever seen. In fact, his name was Dr. Gordon, and she said, "We call him Flash Gordon because he is so fast." And the speed of his work saved not only the baby's life, but probably saved Linda's life. And it was a tender moment for us.
Well, a tender time for us, because the missionaries came in and gave me blessings. They took care of the children for us while I was in there. We had this little baby in ICU and moved to University College Hospital in London for 40 days. There were so many blessings.
All the mission fasted for this little tiny baby, this little 3-pound premature baby, who the doctor originally said had a 50-50 chance of making it. Then there was another miracle. We managed to get him taken up to the University College Hospital, the best hospital in all of London, and they gave him great care. We gave that little boy his name in an incubator, myself and our mission assistants with our hands in those gloves that can reach into that incubator, and we gave him a name so that we could give him a blessing of healing.
I remember them bringing him into me in the incubator, and he was covered with cotton balls, just his whole body. I don't know exactly why, but they said, "Do you want to give him a little cuddle before you go?" I mean, he had quit breathing 3 or 4 times every hour. And I said, "Well, how do I do that?" I said, "Well, just stick your finger in there and put it on his forehead and just give him a little cuddle." And so I did.
So 40 days and 40 nights, we would drive in every day to London from Epsom, where we lived about an hour drive away, and see that little baby and
prayers,
caress him in any way we could.
Pouring on our heads.
It united the mission. It united the members of the mission, everyone praying for that little boy. And it was just a tender time. Now, I want to roll that in, Linda, to our Thanksgiving that year. This was in April, so now, and we got him home finally from London in May, and he began to do better, and he began to thrive, and we began to feel like everything was going to be okay, and then it rolled around to Thanksgiving, and I don't ever remember a Thanksgiving when I felt a deeper sense of gratitude and humility and just basically awe when we did that particular.
Yeah, it was
Thanksgiving.
amazing. I think it started something in us that we'd be always grateful for, because there were so many things to be grateful for that. But it spilled over into the rest of our lives. I don't think we've ever forgotten to be grateful for that and for so many other things.
In
that
fact,
happened in our lives.
I think it was that year, Linda, that we changed we had Thanksgiving traditions like everyone does. Basically ours was to eat way too much and watch football all day. Although
Right.
in England, when we watched football, it was soccer. So that tradition was going out anyway. And we decided, why don't we have a thankful tradition? And I think that might have been the first year that we started these tapes. Linda's got a tape.
So
We
you know the old adding machines that we used to have in those days? Well, we went and got a roll of a roll of paper. And then we started when our kids were old enough to write, but they started writing what they were grateful for.
that first year, they would say them and I would
And-
write them. And we'd say, how far can we get? Can we get up to 100 things we're grateful for? Can we get up to 200 things?
What you need to note is that it's written on
Both sides. This is a later one.
I
One
need
year
a
we
few of those.
finally got to 1,000. And they're funny things. I mean, peppermint ice cream, cookie dough, Burt's Bees, doorknobs,
Actors,
Disney movies,
pomegranates,
Linda's party skills.
ultrasounds.
You're really searching, but we had the ground rule. You've got to think about that thing for a minute and think you're really grateful for it. And so some kid said doorknobs, and I remember saying, "Really? Are you thankful for?" He said, "How would we get
What
in the
would you
door
do?
otherwise?"
What would
You
you
know,
do without
he
doorknobs?
defended himself, and so long story short, Thanksgiving can be. I think it's become our favorite holiday. In fact, we don't send
Absolutely.
out Christmas cards. We send out Thanksgiving cards. We want to leave you with one challenge today as a result of this story, and we take this challenge too. Many of you are way ahead of us on this. It's wonderful to have a gratitude journal, something where you write down something you're grateful for every single day. It's a powerful exercise. In fact, we've done a little book. We're not selling this book because you can just do this with a notebook, but I want to read you one quote from this. This is our book. It's called Daily Thanks. And it just basically, it has a few quotes in it, but it's mainly a gratitude journal. You don't need this. You can develop your own notebook or whatever, but I want to read you the first page. Gratitude doesn't lead to happiness. Gratitude is happiness in its most obtainable form.
And we do feel that is true. We did a bigger coffee table book on this, and this was our publisher's idea. We didn't even realize they were doing it, but they took the quotes. We had so much fun finding
Oh my
those
gosh.
quotes.
There's
They
so many
were
great quotes about
magnificent.
gratitude. There really are.
Absolutely gorgeous.
And by the
Thanks
way,
for
we're
that.
running out of time, Linda, but we are going to continue this conversation. We do a podcast every week on BYU Radio, but it's on any podcast app, whatever, Stitcher, whatever you use. It's just called Eyres on the Road. It's a weekly one. We invite you to tune in, especially this next couple of weeks, because we're going to be talking about gratitude and about how powerful it can be.